Serial killings have broken the important bonds of trust and compassion that define our humanity. These individuals' actions have caused immense suffering and sorrow upon others, leaving a stain on society. In this video, we will take a look at some of the world's most famous serial killers and their stories. Let's get started. Luis Garavito, La Bestia. Luis Garavito is Colombia's worst serial killer with over 300 people. His modus operandi was attracting poor boys between the age of 6 to 16 with money, candy, or odd jobs, only to end up torturing, raping, and killing them. Though he has confessed to 138 acts of crime, the total number of his victims is more than twice that number. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, he has more murder victims than the world's worst serial killer, Pedro Lopez. On April 22, 1999, Garavito was imprisoned on separate charges of attempted rape, but his confession was not sufficient to charge him with his killings. After final evidence was found at different crime scenes, Garavito was sentenced to several terms in prison, amounting to 1,853 years and 9 days in jail. John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown. John Wayne Gacy, once a friendly neighbor, shocked everyone when it was revealed he was a serial killer and sex offender. From 1972 to 1978, he lured around 33 teenagers and young men to his house under false promises of work or money, only to strangle them with a tourniquet. He hid their bodies in the crawl space beneath his house before disposing of them in the Des Plaines River. Known as the killer clown, Gacy often performed as a clown at fundraising events. Eventually, he was arrested, convicted of 33 murders, and sentenced to death. After spending 14 years on death row, he was executed by lethal injection in 1994. Jeffrey Dahmer, Milwaukee cannibal. Jeffrey Dahmer, a notorious serial killer, started his murderous spree at the age of 18 in 1978. Over the course of several years, he committed multiple murders and engaged in acts of necrophilia, as well as cooking and consuming parts of his victims' bodies. In 1991, he was arrested after a potential victim managed to overpower him and notify the authorities. During his widely publicized trial, Dahmer provided horrifying details of his cannibalism and necrophilia, sparking renewed interest in serial killers among the public. In 1992, he was sentenced to 927 years in prison, but his life was cut short when he was killed by a fellow inmate in 1994. Dahmer remains among the top 10 most notorious serial killers. Ahmad Suraji, Datuk Maringgi. Ahmad Suraji, an Indonesian cattle breeder, admitted to killing 42 young girls and women. He would bury them up to their waist in his sugarcane field, believing that this act would give him power. Suraji received a death sentence, and he was executed by a firing squad. Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy, a handsome and educated man, used his charm to commit horrific crimes. He raped and murdered multiple young women, often returning to their crime scenes to engage in sexual acts with their bodies. His trial was the first to be televised, and he relished the attention from the media. Bundy collected severed heads as trophies, and though he confessed to 30 murders, the true number remains unknown. Despite receiving letters of admiration and hoping to delay his execution, he was ultimately electrocuted in 1989. Conversations with a Killer, the Ted Bundy Tapes, is a well-known documentary about his crimes. Tsutomu Miyazaki, the otaku murderer. Tsutomu Miyazaki, known as the human Dracula, committed horrifying crimes such as abduction, murder, and necrophilia against young girls. He would drink their blood and consume their body parts, keeping them as trophies. After his grandfather's death in 1988, Miyazaki became deeply depressed, which contributed to his brutal acts. He would send postcards to the families of his victims, describing his actions while taunting them. Miyazaki was arrested in July 1989 for the murder of 4 young girls and was later sentenced to death in 1997. Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper, a notorious serial killer, terrorized the streets of London in the late 1880s. Targeting mostly sex workers, he brutally murdered them by slashing their throats and destroying their bodies with a carving knife. The killer taunted the police with chilling letters, but despite numerous manhunts and investigations, the case remains unsolved. The absence of explicit evidence led to its closure in 1892. Many theories propose that the perpetrator possessed surgical or butcher skills, given their vast knowledge of human anatomy. Jack the Ripper is one of the most popular names in serial killer history. Well, that's it for today. If you enjoyed watching this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content like this. See you in the next video.